and welcome to Chapel Hill Maker. I'm Rachel, and I love making and knitting here in beautiful and snowy Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I'm so glad that you could join me today and wanted to thank everybody who watched my last episode. It seemed like you really enjoyed the podcast recommendations, and so I think I may continue to include some of those in each podcast so that you can find some of the other creators that I've really enjoyed watching. I feel like I only scratched the surface. There are so many talented people here on YouTube and Instagram. It's really inspiring to continue to see creative people in the world right now. And so I'm so grateful to you guys for sharing your choices and your favorites with me. I have been working through that list, and I'll continue sharing them with you. You can find me obviously here on YouTube as Chapel Hill Maker and Chapel Hill Maker on Instagram and Ravelry. And I have had a great time interacting with you guys on all of those. I've been stuck inside more or less since Saturday. For those of you who are not familiar with winter in the South, pretty much the snow falls or ice falls, and then we leave it until it melts. So this time it's taking a little bit longer. My poor kids have not had a in-person full day of school in well over a week. So I actually think they're ready to go back to school, but yeah. So the other thing I wanted to share was I've had a few people ask, and I don't think I've answered. I don't think I've shown it on the podcast here, about my blanket that I have behind me. And this is the Gro Shawl by Fiber Tales. And I knit this out of Nutiden unspun yarn, which I have some right here on the top, and it's a company from Sweden. And I love this so much, but it is way too heavy for using as a shawl here in North Carolina. So it decorates the back of my chair, and I love it. But let's move on to finished objects and what I'm wearing, because they are one and the same. I finished my Moomellow sweater by Sumin Kim, and it came out of the Art of the Sea book, which I talked about at length a couple episodes ago. And I did this as a buddy knit with my friend Jessie over at Made Co. And we had so much fun making this together. And she finished a few days ahead of me, but the storm preparations slowed me down a bit on my sleeves, but I'm so happy it's done and that I've been able to wear it this weekend with the cold weather. And so I knit this out of Isayer Soft. And this is in the color E2S. And I think that it's a natural undyed color. And then I held it double with Alpaca 1 in the color 1. Oh no, E0. And I think somebody asked me that, and I'm gonna wait for Sawyer to stop barking. Okay, sounds like somebody talked him into stopping. So yeah, so I held these double, and it gave me definitely a bulky yarn. And the original pattern called for La Mana Como Grande, which is a superwash, bulky, and I think has a smoother plied texture, held double with mohair. And so I was a little bit nervous in trying to swap out a different style of yarn with it. But I ended up, I'm so happy with the result, and I could actually even see making another one. If you see Yejie's, hers is a smoother yarn and it has a ton of drape to it, and I love hers also. But this was knit on size 10 needles, and I did not swatch before I started. I kind of just cast on and wanted to see what the fabric looked like. You cast on with smaller needles right here at the top, but in pattern, and then switch to the size 10s. And so I just wanted to see if I liked, how I liked the fabric, and kind of made adjustments on the fly. And luckily this time it worked out. It's one of those do as I say, not as I do things. You should always swatch. The knitting teacher in me feels like I need to tell you that. But yeah, so the yarn was wonderful. I loved it. And I bought 8 balls of this and used, I think 5 and a little. And I bought 3 of this and I used 1.5. And so I had a ton of yarn left over, and I'm gonna talk about one of the reasons why. I originally planned on knitting the size 2. It called for about 10 to 12 inches of positive ease, and I wanted it to be oversized and sweatshirty. And so Yeji and I cast on for the size 2, and if I remember correctly, I think 1 and 2 had the same cast on numbers. And then it's a raglan shaping, and so you increase as you go. I think it's sort of a compound raglan. You increase for the front and the back, and then you add in the shoulder increases as well. And I realized pretty quickly that it was going to be way too big if I kept going for the size 2. And so I adjusted and knit for the size 1, and my gauge is definitely a little bit off, which is, I think I talked about it in the last episode. It was a 16 and a half stitch gauge, and I got 16. And so even just that half a stitch made a huge difference over the course of the whole sweater. So I actually ended up, let me share this with you so you can see a little bit closer. Here's the raglan shaping right here. Got totally distracted by the doorbell, and now I'm back. Hopefully I can remember where I was. But yeah, so as I was increasing with the raglan, I saw that even if I continued to knit the size 1, I was gonna end up way too big. I kept trying it on. I actually did a sort of early project block to make sure and see how much this was gonna grow. And so I kind of had to just sort of wing it, and made sure so I knit until I felt like I was ready to separate for sleeves. And then when I cast on for the underarm, I just made sure that I would keep the number of stitches equal to stay within the 2x1 rib pattern. So it's a fantastic pattern. It is so clean, short, but comprehensive, and I thoroughly enjoyed every little bit of this. It went so fast. I cast on January 11th and bound off, I think, on January 27th. And if I had only been working on this, I probably would have finished it even faster, but I had other projects going. So as you can see, there is this just chunky cable that goes all the way up the front and then goes down the sleeves, which I had a little bit of a hard time kind of getting the cable to block out. I had the bright idea that I should put a pool noodle in my sleeve, but in January, it is hard to find a pool noodle. So I may invest in that later and see if it works, and I'll report back. But all of this just went so quickly. I had to kind of adjust the decreases on the sleeve because I have short arms, and it would have just gone on for days, but it worked out pretty well. I think if I did these again, if I did the sweater again, I might, if you could see, I might do the sleeve with fewer decreases and just leave it as a little bit more of a bell sleeve. But overall, it is so cozy. It is so warm. So if you see me glowing during this podcast, it's because my bedroom is always the warmest room in the house for some reason, and I'm wearing a pretty bulky sweater. But I'm so happy to be able to share it with you, and I'm so grateful to Yeji for knitting it with me. She kind of helped give me the confidence to really make those adjustments on the fly, and I feel like I kind of unlocked some new knitting skills. It's always fun to knit in tandem with somebody because you can bounce ideas off of and ask questions, and they're sort of in the same place that you are. So yeah, so this is the Moomellow. I don't even know if I said the name. I'm a little disjointed today, but this is the Moomellow by Suman Kim, and she is on Instagram as Knits Pour Moi, and it's from the Art of the Sea book, which I love, and I'm already looking forward to doing another pattern out of there. I'm gonna try to pick my next one. But as you will see going forward, I don't have any business casting anything on right now because that's all I did this weekend was cast on and cast on and cast on. So moving on to my works in progress. This I think can kind of fall under the half finished object / whip. And I knit my first Luffe mitten. Again, it's by Lone Jeltsin. I still haven't gotten any better at pronouncing her name, but it was made with a kit from Fiber MacGyver. And the way she packages it, it is 2 colors of DK superwash merino wool with Surrey alpaca, to baby Surrey, to use as the liner. And so you're basically knitting, here, let me pull this out. You're basically knitting 2 mittens in one. So by the time I finish this project, it will be 4 mittens. But if you look, it's sort of, you know, it's like a mitten muscle burra. And you knit the outer part of the mitten first. And I love the way the gusset goes. It's so easy. And then you pick up with the Surrey from the cast on edge. And I guess you could do a provisional cast on, but when I started it, I was impatient and just wanted to cast on. It doesn't direct it in the pattern. So, and then you basically do the same mitten again with slight adjustments. I actually made the top of this a little bit shorter and the thumb a little bit shorter because I was worried about it not fitting inside. And I think the way Susie intended on the kit was for you to hold the Surrey double, but I ended up just holding it single because I felt like it was gonna be just a little bit too dense. I started it with double and my gauge was off, and so I just dropped one ply and just did it single. So I love this. I can't wait to cast on the other one. I needed a little bit of a mitten break in between, but I'm super excited to have this, and I think that they will get a lot of wear, not just here for our brief North Carolina winter, but in my travels along the way. I think this is my 3rd pair of mittens I've ever made, and one of them I gifted and one of them I wear all the time. So I'm excited to have this. And I think I said this was from a kit from Fiber MacGyver that was gifted to me by Maddie at Colorado Knitter. And continuing on, I have 2 other whips that I'm excited to talk about. The first one in my beautiful plastic shopping bag, which if you saw my post on Instagram, I don't know why I do this. It's almost like I'm auditioning a project to see if it's gonna stick before I commit to putting it in a nice project bag. Does that make any sense to anybody? It doesn't actually even make any sense to me, but it always ends up happening. I get my materials together and then I'm like, I'll just see if I like it first before I don't know, take the time to open the basket where I keep my project bags in. So logic, no. Do I always do it? Yeah, I do. So this is the Harvest Flower sweater, and I'll put a picture of it up here. And I've talked about this a couple times. It was part of my 2026 plans, which I'm super excited that I'm actually following through on them. I feel like more often than not, I make plans and then I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I was gonna do that. And this has been one of those projects. Every time I see somebody with it on Instagram, it kind of takes my breath away. It's so pretty. This is by Jessie Maed Designs, and I'm modifying it based on Stephanie from Edible Thoughts Makes. She is way ahead of me in casting this on. We had kind of chatted about it, and she mentioned she was going to convert it into a cardigan, and I thought that is a fantastic idea because I think a yoked cardigan will fit really nicely, and I'm, sometimes with DK, heavier weight colorwork sweaters, they're a little bit warm here, so it'll be nice to wear sort of as a layering piece. And so here, for some I'll show you the yarn that I'm using. And this is, and I don't have the skein with me, this is Ulla and Leah yarn that I talked about previously. Here's the, it's a natural yak DK weight. And I bought this on Kickstarter. I think you can also order off of their website, but they have a whole mission for helping women in Mongolia learn about yarn production as ways to sustain themselves. I love their mission. I'm not going to do it justice in explaining it here. Definitely go look them up. But I have knit several projects with their yarn and have loved every single one. Their yarn tends to come sort of with a little bit of more spinning oil in it than others, and so it's a much more dramatic blocking experience, and I always find that personally just really exciting. So I'm using that as my main color. And then the next one is this Rowan pure cashmere, which I think is discontinued. And let's see if we have the name of the color in here. I don't think I even have the name of the color. Nope, it's not on here. Shade 97, if that means anything to anybody, but it's this beautiful kind of poppy red. And I'm about halfway through. I had one skein of this I bought on sale when they discontinued it. And so I've been kind of holding it to try to decide what to do with it, and decided that it's not doing anybody any good sitting in a basket. So when I saw this pattern, I thought it would be perfect for the flower. And then I'm using, this is sort of a choice, which I hope I don't regret it, but this is the center of the flower. And this is Julie Aslin Lizu fingering. So it's essentially a sock yarn. It's a superwash merino and 90% and 10% silk. And so I was had a little bit of pause using a superwash in colorwork, but I did not have a better color. All the colors that I held up with it once I saw this just paled in comparison, literally. And then for the stems, I am using a mystery yarn, and I have zero idea what this is, where it came from, what I used it for. No idea. But it's a really cool green, kind of a Loden green, DK to worsted weight yarn, and I haven't started using it yet in the project, so you'll see. But just to give you, this was my pitiful swatch, and I just wanted to kind of see how they played together. I didn't even really follow a chart or anything. I just was, wanted to see. But you can see how beautifully this yarn blooms, the Ulla and Leah blooms when you soak it. And so I think it's gonna make a super cozy sweater. And so as per Stephanie's plans, I added 5 stitches. I moved the beginning of round to the front, and I added 5 stitches here for the for a steek. So I'm going to knit it in the round and then cut it open when I finish it. And so here is what I've done so far. Let's see, I'm in the middle of the round here, I think. Where's my, maybe I'm at the beginning. Color work is always a little messy, at least for me. But let's see, can I get that? So there we can see. And I did actually, let me see if I can find it. I blocked, once I started getting nervous about the Lizu, I blocked like a little, right here. I blocked one little section of it. I soaked it in a measuring cup just to see how it would behave. And I decided that it worked fine. Hopefully with steeking, I'll make sure to reinforce that area really well and it won't be a problem. But, and then here you can see I added the steek stitches right here. And so 3-color work does not come super easily to me. I'm not fantastic at it. It's slow. I have to really think about it and take my time. And this does have some pretty big floats. And so just to give you a comparison, so this is the area that I blocked and it's laying really beautifully. Let's see, can you see that? And then over here is like a section where I didn't block, and you can see it's pretty lumpy. So that also gave me a little bit of reassurance that it'll be okay once I block it out. And so what I decided when making this was that I'm not gonna worry too much about trapping floats every however many stitches. There are some pretty long, 10, 12 stitch floats in the back, and you can see here. But what I've opted to do is, if I notice that I left a float hanging really too low, too loose rather, you can trap it on the next round up, and all you do is lift that float up onto your needle and knit it together with the next stitch. And so far that's been working pretty well. The only downside of that, I guess, is you have to kind of look to the back and see if you have a float that's needing to be trapped. But overall, I'm just not worrying about it. I might regret that later, but I felt like I needed to use my brain space to occupy making sure that my stitches were, my floats were a good distance apart, and that I was picking up the right yarn and holding it in the right order for color dominance and all of those things. And I just didn't have the bandwidth to worry about where I was trapping floats. And she actually gives you guidance in the pattern where you should trap, which I was very appreciative of. I have found in a couple spots in the beginning, I started trapping floats and you can see it through. And so hopefully, again, when it blooms, you won't notice it. And there's a lot going on, so hopefully you won't see that. But yeah, so I just opted to not do it. And I didn't want to worry about it showing through. I think it's Arnie and Carlos who say they don't trap floats. And so I feel like if they don't, then I'm not going to worry about it. So, so this is my Harvest Flower sweater / cardigan. And I hope that next time I show this to you, I'll be able to kind of give you a little more detail about it. But I really love it. I half considered pulling back and replacing the center color with something non-superwash, but I just love it so much. It's just coming together so well. I can't wait to include the stem in it as well. And she has 4 different charts for options for charts. 2 are longer and 2 are shorter. I'm going with the shorter yoke option. And then there's some that have like seeds at the bottom and some don't. I haven't decided which one I'm going to go with yet. Stephanie's, I think, has the seeds at the bottom. I'll put a picture of hers too, because hers is gorgeous. And I'm loving using stuff from my stash. It's fun to play with, color with, paint with yarn, I guess, and just pull things out. And I don't know why I feel smug about using my stash, considering I already bought the yarn at some point. But it's fun to do, and so I'm glad I did it. And I'm going to keep plugging away at this, and I'm looking forward to sharing more about it with you in the not too distant future. So that's the Harvest Flower sweater cardigan, Jessie Maed. And then my last work in progress is a test knit for Tori Yu. And I've tested for her a few times. She runs a really seamless test through Google Docs, and her patterns are generally pretty perfect by the time they get to you. And so I was excited when I saw she's releasing a summer weight Prospect tee, which is the sister to her Prospect pullover, which is a pattern, which is a textured, all over textured sweater. I'm using Sayana by Wool Dreamers, and I bought this last summer from Amy Scherer, her online yarn store. She had an end of season sale on summer yarns, and I had a sneaky suspicion that I would find a good project for it, and I did. So this is, I think it's called European construction, maybe, where you start with sort of this trapezoid in the back. This is the cast on edge. And let's see if I can get you to see some of the texture here. It's a little hard with the light behind me. There you go. That's better. And yeah, so this is super fun. The pattern called for fingering weight was size 4 needles. I was able to get gauge with size 3 needles. And I don't know why mentally there's like a difference for me, and knitting on all over, you know, a garment on size 3 needles feels a little more daunting than a size 4, but so far it's going along really quickly, and I love this yarn. It is 45% cotton and 55% wool, I believe. I don't have the label here with me. I don't know what I did with it, but I'll put it up on the screen when I'll look it up after I finish. But yeah, so I'm excited. I think this will be a fun summer knit. I don't have anything in this color, and I love testing for Tori. Her patterns are just really, she does a lot of thoughtful pattern construction, and they always just fit beautifully. So I'll share more of this as I go also, and I'm gonna continue moving on. I have my notes here. So, okay, so now I have some newly acquired treasures, and I'll loop my spinning conversation in with that because some of that is fiber. And can you hear Poppy chewing away in the back? I'm really sorry. I gave her a bully stick and she is loving it. So, okay, sorry. So the first thing I pre-ordered Summer Lee's Sock Obsession book. And honestly, I feel like I should just set her up on direct deposit because everything she does, I love. It's so good. I don't know if you can see. This is all the stuff that's in here. Her use of color is so fun and so unexpected to me, and stuff that I wouldn't otherwise choose. And as somebody who sort of gets nervous about color choosing, I love seeing somebody who just goes for it, and it inspires me to try things that I wouldn't otherwise put together. And so even if I don't knit a single pattern out of this book, which I expect I will, I have already just taken in so much inspiration. And this is a cool book because she shares a little, this is her second sock pattern book, and she shares a little bit of inspiration of why she chose to do things, and gives a little bit of personal background on herself as well. So you learn more about her as you go. And she's got a fantastic YouTube channel that I definitely recommend. I just think she's so cool and so funny. So yeah, so that is the Sock Obsession by Summer Lee. The next is some spinning fiber from Yarn Jam, and it's called Lake Cottage, and it's Shanico wool, which I guess is a cross between merino and rambouillet. And I haven't spun with this before, and the Renee and Rachel over at Table 10 raved about spinning with the Shanico, so I'm excited to see how it spins up. But really all of my previous spins have always been indie dyed, and it's so fun for me to spin and watch the colors change. And then when I finish it, I don't always have a great idea of what I want to do with that yarn. And so I wanted to try to be a little bit more thoughtful and intentional about the yarn that I'm buying. I mean, I think I'm loving my jaunty, which is kind of being ignored right now, but I'm loving knitting with the hand spun. And so I want to have sort of more occasions to knit with it. And so I want to be intentional about what I'm spinning. Especially because I feel like now I'm finally getting to a place where I feel comfortable with what I'm creating, and well, you know, with the yarn that I'm creating, and I'm trying to just plan a little bit more. And so the other fiber that I got is this, it's from Promised Land Sheep Company, or Promised Land Fibers, and they're on Etsy, and I'll put a link in the show notes. And this yarn is from a rambly sheep, which also is sort of a, from what I can gather, is like a golden doodle of sheep. And just to read off of their site, Rambly Sheep, a thoughtful cross of Wensleydale, Merino, Tarhi, and Corriedale, with a staple length of 4 to 6 inches and a soft, springy crimp. And so this is the natural color, and she calls it silver, and it's like a dark brown with silver highlights. So maybe I just related to this on a personal level, I don't know. But if you can see, here's the staple length. Does that even show up? Let's see if I can hold it forward. I don't know if you're able to see that, but this yarn is so soft, and it is like everything they said is really well described. It's so soft and springy, but it is really easy to spin. And in my experience, limited experience this far, some of the really soft yarns I have a hard time spinning. And Merino I've had a really hard time spinning, but Corriedale is my favorite thing to spin because it's just so reliable. And so this sort of spins up like Corriedale, but feels like Merino. It is so soft and springy. And using the trick that I shared last time that I learned in my spinning class, I used one of these embroidery bobbins, and I'm going to do this as a 3-ply. If you can see, that's my ply test to see what I liked. This will be my first 3-ply that I've ever done, and I'm spinning it, so I'm spinning it really, really thin. I haven't soaked this, so I'm assuming it'll bloom a little bit, and I'm expecting I'm gonna get it like a sport weight DK weight yarn out of it, and I'm spinning 8 ounces of it. So that is from Promised Land Fibers, and they are, I think, in Washington State, and I ordered, it's an Etsy shop, and they shipped super fast, and it was really affordable. I think when I ordered it at the time, they were having a sale too. So give them a look. It's so springy and soft. But one more acquisition, and that is this sock set from Needles at the Ready. I'm sure you watch Kevin and Ray's podcast, and they put this up on, I think, like two podcasts ago, that Kevin was dyeing this up based on, he's calling it the photographer's sock set. And he's pulling out old photos that he's taken and dyeing yarn based on the photo. And if I can find it, I'll put it up here. It was really a beautiful picture. I did not know that he was such a talented photographer as well. What can't he do? But I love the blues in here. They're really sort of Mediterranean looking, and this terracotta colored mini will just really sets it off. And it's kind of cool that the color in the yarn really matches their logo as well. It has some of that bright teal in there, some greens, but I think this will make a beautiful pair of socks, and I'm excited to have it. So that's it for my little nitty treasures that I've acquired. And the last section that I wanted to talk about is my active news cycle avoidance, because if you are anything like me, you have been trying to find those moments away from the news because it is so stressful and it's a lot. That's kind of all I'm gonna go into on that, but I've been having to find ways to kind of step away and fortify myself. So I brought up the book last time. I recorded The Guncle by Stephen Rowley, and that was delightful. He narrates the audiobook himself, and I went on to listen not only to his first book, but his second one, which is a sequel, and they really are so sweet. And while more or less they're pretty predictable, they, in a comforting way, sort of like a Gilmore Girls episode, but it's a lot of insight. You can hear my jingly girl back there, sorry. He has a lot of insight on grief and sort of change and how life moves. And so while it comes across as a sort of a bit of a folly in the beginning, it's like the main character is an actor who's flamboyant, and he is very self-focused. You start to see why he is that way and learn about his family and how he shows up for them when they need him, and how he kind of evolves as a character through both of these books. And I've really thoroughly enjoyed both of them. And then I just started the next book in the Magpie Murder series, and that also is sort of like putting on a comfy old sweatshirt. You know what to expect out of it, but it's still really enjoyable. In the vein of active news cycle avoidance, one of the things I noticed I was doing a ton of was doom scrolling, which I usually am pretty good about not engaging in that, and I just lost that skill. And so my daughter recommended an app called Screen Zen, which I downloaded, and you can set limits on your social media use. You can pick your app groupings, or I think you can do it specifically by app. The only app that I use is Instagram. And so what I have it set to now is that I can go on for 5 minutes at a time, and then it shuts off and you can't go back on for at least 10 minutes. And I weirdly felt nervous about instituting it. Not like I can't just turn it off, but I think it kind of bothered me that I needed restrictions. And I think Casey at Young Folk Knits talked about this in her 2026 plans as well, that she was thinking about getting a brick for her phone as well. And this app seems to have really helped, because it shows the Instagram app grayed out. And when you click on it, it says across the screen, why am I checking? And so you sort of have to take a minute, and it makes you wait 5 seconds before it opens the app. And so you kind of take a breath and you go, do I really want to go here? And so you may notice that I've been a little less active on social media, doing that for now for my own kind of fortification. And definitely recommend the app. It's free to use. They're donation based. And so I think if you make a donation, then it's free forever in case they ever need to start charging for it. But there's no ads. It's just does what it says it's going to do. And so far I've really liked it. It gives you like sort of how many times a day you click on there. And I noticed I was really it was a habit. And now I haven't been even going to click on there as much. And you see the little bubbles disappear as you use it throughout the day. And I've been surprised at how much less I really wanted to go on there. The next is a documentary on Netflix. If you've watched any of my episodes, you know I'm a huge Carolina Hurricanes fan, and now hockey fan in general. And the answer is no, I haven't yet watched Heated Rivalry. At some point I want to, but haven't gotten to it yet. This is a documentary called Miracle, the Boys of '80, and it's a documentary about the 1980 U.S. hockey team that beat Russia and went on to win the gold medal. No spoiler alert there, it happened in 1980. It is a great, just a really well done piece. You get to see all of these guys now grown up and talking about their experiences, and it's really poignant and lovely. And I feel like it's the perfect ramp up for the Olympics, and I'm very excited to watch the Olympics and cheer on our athletes. Let's see, I have 2 more. I've clearly have been really actively avoiding the news cycle. I started using my Peloton again. I have a Peloton, treadmill and a bike, and I've consistently do their strength classes, and sometimes more consistently than others, but have found that I've needed that outlet as well, and really have been kind of plugging back in there. So if you happen to be on Peloton and you want to join me, I don't really understand like how the whole friend thing works on there, but I'm Knit and Spin NC, and you're welcome to give me a follow there too. And we can high five on the leaderboard, which I'm always at the bottom of. But if you've never tried any of the Peloton classes, I think I can send free trials of it. So if you want to message me somewhere, I can send you a free 60-day trial. I don't think I get anything out of it, but I'm happy to share it. And then the last one is my podcast share for this week, which I'm going to start doing. And I wanted to share Knit Cheek. And Natalie has been on YouTube for about 2 years. She just had sort of her podiversary episode. And I love, she does, you know, a traditional podcast, but then also peppers in her own unique spin on it. And the one that she just did was her podiversary episode. And she talked about how she thought about it for a long time and was afraid, and finally just decided to go for it. And I'm so glad that she did, number one. And number two, it was, she really eloquently was able to articulate the way I felt about starting my channel as well. And so hearing her video was like kind of having that mirrored back to me and reminded me of why I'm just so happy that I decided to take inspiration from her and from so many other creators. And I've just gotten so much more benefit out of it than I expected. I've interacted with so many nice people, seeing people chat, you know, in the comment section, and having people reach out on Instagram has been really fun. To that end, this is my 10th episode, which feels a little bit notable. I don't know, maybe. And I get more excited to record each time. And as I'm working on things, I think about, oh, I can't wait to show this, or I'm gonna hold this, I'm not gonna wear this yet, so it can look nice when I when I show it. So I get excited to share with other people who appreciate the little details of making. And with that, I'm gonna say goodbye, and thank you so much for watching and liking and subscribing and commenting and all of the ings, because they bring so much joy to my day. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.